Hey up me loves, I'm Nat and welcome back to my channel, Nat at North. So fellow renegades, happy Tuesday. We are back here again for another episode of Nat's Chats, and we are going to be getting into my first reaction, which was last week, to the first part of the Money Game series. This was very unexpected. I didn't know really what to anticipate with this, but a lot of recommendations on going into this series coming off of Vincent's Tale and Everything Starry Night gave us, because a lot of the topics and themes are very, very similar. So I did mention this in my previous video, but I think your first reaction really does depend, especially when you're a new renegade, on the chronological order. If you do that out of order, which I've obviously done Money Game after Starry Night and the Tales, it does kind of influence a little bit of my thoughts, my ideas, and kind of the discussion, basically. If I'd seen Money Game first, it may be a bit different. Watching Starry Night, I might pick up on different things. So with that in mind, my first really impressions of that was just very jarring. It made me feel really uncomfortable, and I couldn't quite understand on my first reaction the symbolism and relationship between the person in the chair that was, on the guitar, and Ren. And for me, it just really threw me off having him singing and rapping and somebody else playing the instrument. It was just honestly just made me feel really overwhelmed. I wasn't quite sure what I was looking at. And I think he did that on purpose to make us feel uncomfortable. And I love the way that he incorporated another person. If it was just him doing all, on the guitar, I don't think it would have been as impactful for me as kind of the viewer and the listener as well. It really took me into that space of feeling uncomfortable and just feeling really overwhelmed. So with that being said, let's get into your first comment. So at Gable354, it is theorised that the guy playing the guitar is Romain from The Big Push. So I'm so pleased that in advance of this, I've actually done some Big Push reactions. I've been introduced to the amazing, fabulous, multi-talented Romain. And I know this is a renegade theory. I don't believe that it has been confirmed by Ren, but this makes perfect sense because there are quite a lot of emotionally charged and kind of a little bit indirectly aggressive scenes, like they're very, very close together. He's touching him. It's quite aggressive at points with just really the lyrics that he's singing, and some of, Ren is very good at being spatially aware and being able to kind of convey this idea of violence without directly being violent. So it would really have to be somebody that trusts Ren. So this makes perfect sense to me that it would be Romain, and we know that he's an amazing guitar player. And if this is true, I just love the fact that he's, incorporated one of his band members into this. And I love the way that Ren does this. Again, I mentioned it in the Starry Night, but he does really kind of collaborate and get everybody together to make his message heard. And I love the way that other artists also support Ren in that messaging as well. So yes, thank you so much for bringing this to my attention. And it is definitely a very popular renegade theory. So I did mention that I was a bit perplexed by the relationship between, like, what does Ren symbolize? What does the guy with the guitar symbolize? So at Mr_W_games_from_Twitch, hello, my friend, you are back again. And I believe by now you are a Nat's Chats regular. So I actually really liked this take because I've read all the comments and this just seemed a little bit different to me, a different perspective that I really appreciated. And it definitely made me think about that relationship and what it really represented. So in Money Game 1, I think the guy in the chair is us, blinded by money, the money bag over the head secured with a noose. Unaware of the danger we are in, just doing what we are told. So yeah, at first I actually did think, I didn't really pick up on the money bag being over his head. I just thought it was some kind of like pillowcase torture device, but it just makes it even more jarring really that has been incorporated with it being the main theme of this song. And then at first I thought it was a snake or something when I saw it come on the screen, and I was like, all right, it's the end of a rope. Is the first scene, so it's almost like in a way we are ourselves destroying ourselves by being compliant to the old money game, which if you think about history, sometimes with me, especially with all the things that have gone on in the last 5 to 6 years of my life and just everything really in society, sometimes I do forget that this is not just a current issue. this has been a theme, a cycle, and in history throughout the years. This isn't like it's just, come up and everyone's become greedy all of a sudden, and really the money makes the world go around. This has been something that is in our history, but unfortunately I think with social media and also with the media, it's just come more to the forefront, which has stoked fear. But I think the flip side of that is the only way that people are waking up is because all this information is so much more accessible, and we do have the option to educate ourselves rather than, I don't know, in the olden days. And I feel weird saying that because this is like how I grew up, going to school. But you need to do some research on a particular theme or topic. You've got to go to the library. It's really, really time inefficient, and it takes a lot of dedication to do that. So there's definitely a flip side to the social media and the just media, television, all of these narratives, but it has enabled people to start to wake up and see how history is repeating itself. Ren symbolizes someone a few rungs up on the money ladder, trying to make us aware of the danger we face, each time escalating the threat until he opens our eyes and we see our peril. Ren's character seems to have more knowledge because he is further up the ladder, so he has more knowledge, he has more education, and he has more of an inside look as to the compliance piece and how the world revolves around money. And he is trying to help and aid this person to open their eyes to what is going on right in front of the face, and that also that he is part of too. As you say, it's at this moment Ren realizes he is part of the money game. He's trying to warn us about, and he sees he is part of the problem and he opts out. So it's this thought of accountability, which we'll get to the chorus as well, because I believe that is also confirmed within the chorus. It is quite powerful. I just honestly love this perspective. I've not thought about this before at all. And perhaps the person with the guitar, because he continues to play the guitar, he is not listening to Ren, which is why, as you say, he escalates the threat each time until he physically opens his eyes. And he has no option but to listen to Ren. And this also could explain the ending, which we're going to get into in a bit more detail a bit later on in this episode. Because the ending also perplexed me. I wasn't quite sure how to take this, and you guys have been amazing. You've jumped on the bandwagon and really explained your perspectives, which I really appreciate. So thank you so much for sharing this with me. Okay, X Daniel DX, Ren has said 3 bags and a rope on people's heads represents money bags. He said if you look at how the bags bagged money in the 1800s and 1900s, they used burlap sacks tied at the top with ropes. So yes, the old money game. This makes even more sense, especially off of Twitch's previous comment, for sure. To me, it's almost like not only is there a person under there, but I guess that we are money to people. Maybe that the person is a metaphor as well for the money, because we are the people that are the consumer, right? It's really clever the way that Ren has incorporated the old-fashioned old money bags to this and put it around somebody's head. And I was kind of thinking about the double meaning of that too. I just thought it was to blind the person. It kind of reminded me a little bit of when I first saw, I was like, oh my God, what the frig is that? There was just this guy there. I felt as though he'd been kidnapped and he was potentially going to be tortured. But I was almost like, maybe he has been like, his eyes have been covered and his face has been covered, so he doesn't know the identity of the person in front of him. That Ren's character doesn't want to be found out. So with that being said, if we're going to delve really deep, could the money bag over the head kind of symbolize the media as well? Could it symbolize the fact that they try to blind us by shifting our focus into other things? I've always seen the person in, sat with the guitar as a person, but then again, if we're to look at this in a different light, perhaps because he is in the burlap bag, maybe us as individuals, as the normal people, these big corporations just see us as dollar signs. They see us as pound signs and money because we are the consumers that are going to purchase the products and, make them remain in control, because money makes the world go around, okay? If you look at authority, most people in authority have a lot of money. money talks. That's always what they say. So I'd never really thought about it like that, as like we are the consumer and we just seen as money. That's it. Nobody really cares. It just comes back to that thoughts that I had with this, is nobody really has a moral compass anymore. It's really about just getting the bag, and it doesn't matter how they go about it. And that could even be with, we're talking about, you know, the old money game, but the kind of newer one in the present is the influencers. They could take a product and they can just bullshit the way into saying it's the most amazing thing in the whole universe, and us as the consumer, because it's about efficiency and it's about the now, what is the trend now, what's the big thing, we just purchase that, right? They distort the truth. So, you know, could the money bag as well just represent lies, distortion of reality? So I really liked this. So this comment is from Stoll Sursum. Stoll is amazing at getting on the comments. For all my Ren reactions, most of them he'll go on. You can go on and read the comments. He does really long ones, really in detail, fantastic insight, thoughts, ideas, and I just really enjoy reading Stoll, your perspective. So thank you so much for this. I've actually taken a snippet of that longer comment, so do go on the Money Game Part 1 video and you can read the whole thing, because it is really insightful, and yeah, there's just a lot of information in there I think renegades will appreciate. Okay, so in Part 1, Ren's lyrics examine how money, initially a neutral medium of exchange, evolves into a mechanism that promotes exploitation, manipulates perception, and normalizes human suffering as just business. It should be the whole point of money. It is an exchange. You know, I need something that you have, so I give you money, and it's as simple as that. You give me the item. But unfortunately, yeah, it's got very distorted. So I love the way you explained this. It is very, very true. We are manipulated as human beings into purchasing things, and even like purchasing things that sound amazing or that we think we need through advertising and the media that actually we don't need at all. It's just ridiculous. It's just a waste of money. So on the rain section you highlighted, I hear the rain as both a cleansing force and an oncoming storm that we keep refusing to prepare for, almost like a baptism and a warning siren wrapped into one. So I love this explanation, and this was very beautiful the way you explained this, honestly. The rain, when I first heard that, for me it was a little bit of an escape, honestly, the chorus. But as the chorus goes on, you actually see by the end, the last time he sings the chorus, he sings lower, he sings deeper, and it seems as though we are witnessing, through the way that he sings that, through the journey of the song, his own destruction, his own immortality, and kind of the decaying also of Ren's character in this too, being part of the playing the money game, not potentially being part of the money game, but being a player of the money game, how that has deteriorated him and his morals and his passion for life throughout the song. That's at least the way that I saw the chorus of how it was sung at certain points, comparing the beginning to the end. It really is Ren's downfall as the money game player as well. Everybody seems to just lose out in the end. So the rain as well, it also reminded me a lot of War Rains Down, the lyric from the Sunflower's prologue in Vincent's Tale. So rain, I feel like, you know, Ren does use rain a lot. And I love this idea of the cleansing force, but also the fact that it's a foreshadowing of something more serious to come, being this storm. And I would agree that we can see the storm. Sometimes we're even in the eye of the storm and we just refuse to prepare for it. It's this regret. We're so into a routine. We can see things coming at us, but we just refuse to prepare for that. And then once you're in it, that's when you do have regret and you think, oh my God. And that's when it, unfortunately, through failure to prepare, that's when it opens your own eyes. So the storm comes our way, but the people who rise through distorted lies are already poisoned. So what should be cleansing water becomes corrosive when it hits a system that refuses to change. Oh yes, I love the way that you put this. In that sense, the rain isn't just doom, it's also moment when truth, consequence, and history finally catch up with us. And mentioned in this too, it's the blame for the people that are playing the game, as in Ren's character, and us that are part of the game. I do think that we always, it's just human nature, isn't it, to just blame everybody else, blaming history, blaming society, blaming the big corporations, where sometimes it's just about realizing what is in front of us and taking accountability. And I think we're all part of this big mechanism. Until we start taking accountability, there is no hope for the future. I think that's where it really starts with anything in life that you're going through. It's the waking up and then saying, no, actually, yeah, I need to do things differently and I need to look in the mirror, so to speak. I just really loved this beautiful explanation of the lyrics when it came to the chorus. So I appreciate this so much. In most of his music videos that I've seen, it's just one scene. And the way that he plays around with the space, I think is really, really clever, because really, as the listener and as the viewer to his music videos, we only have a small attention span. He really does utilize the set and that one location that they're at. He utilizes it so effectively. And I think that is quite hard to do, to maintain art, because there's really only him and another character and a bloody guitar. And you have this 3-minute video or whatever it is. So I think it's very talented the way it does that. You know, I mean, I was fixated on the screen. My attention was not going away from it. So when he says stop as well, and the guy stops, I felt as though he was very, very in control actually, until towards the end of the music video. There was a lot of stop starts, there was a lot of pauses, and it just built this suspense for me as the viewer. I loved it. It's Devin Cooper 7821, oppressor versus oppressed. Yes. The end, where Ren draws eyes on the oppressed, he finally became aware and used his guitar or music as a defense when Ren threatened with pouring gasoline, causing the oppressor to self-immolate. Yeah, the ending was very disturbing, honestly. I just wouldn't have predicted that. I was honestly more predicting that something was going to happen to the guy with the guitar. So that threw me, and I've thought about it a lot as to what that symbolizes and what that means. Now, the drawing the eyes on, again, if we go back to the Twitcher's comment, it makes me just see that with really completely different eyes, no pun intended, where Ren is trying to open the eyes of the individual, and once the eyes are on, that person is opened. And he does use his guitar, doesn't it? He just stop throughout points, but this person still is almost cooperating in a strange way. I think if you take the symbolism of the guitar being the music and then Ren as the singer, they actually do need to work in unison together. So if you just had Ren singing and rapping with no music, it just wouldn't have worked. And then if you just had the guitar without Ren singing and rapping all these lyrics, there'd be no context. So it is like they had to work in unison together in order to get the message across. So I do find it really interesting how the guitar perhaps represents the oppressed's voice in this, and one cannot operate without the other. So the ending, therefore, shows that we're all part of this. We're all part of playing the game or being part of the game. And then the only point that I really see the person in the chair fight back is when, you know, Ren tries to pour the liquid on it, and he uses the guitar to kind of defend himself, and he puts it in between them. And is that like a secret message as well for Ren to tell society that music is his defense mechanism to helping us wake up? Because let me tell you something, since I've gone down the rabbit hole, and I've still got a long way to go, don't get me wrong, with Ren, I have definitely questioned myself certain things in the past, whether that be in the media, whether that be things my family members have gone through, things in the news, or my personal experiences. Let me tell you, the last 5 years has been so many things that has happened where I felt as though I'm the crazy one. And I'm like, you know, have I got this right? Like, I don't understand. It's almost too obvious. And it's just made me question everything. And then listening to Ren's music, especially the tales, it's made me realize that I'm not actually crazy. And I'm probably the most logical one of them all. And my thoughts are validated. And I think that's what Ren does through his music. A lot of people sometimes, you know, I definitely have not had the confidence in the past to challenge these things and to bring them to the forefront, especially when it came to Starry Night. I feel as though every single thing that I have felt and all of my experiences of the last 5 years. He has taken all of my thoughts and ideas and just basically wrapped a bow around them and said, there you go, you validated. So I really appreciate Ren for this. So yeah, coming back to your point, the secret symbolism of that ending too, and it's only a very, very small movement that happens with the guitar blocking the way. For me, that's Ren saying, this is my weapon. Like, this is my defense. And this is how I am going to wake up other people. And I do feel as though, for me, it's been very life-changing going through this experience. And just to have a community that thinks alike, that I can relate to, has just been amazing. And I do feel as though I'm becoming more confident and stronger to speak out on certain things that I don't agree with. Because sometimes there are grey areas, but sometimes things are very black and white. So I love this. I just, I didn't notice it, I'll be honest, on the first watch. It was like the second watch that I noticed the guitar and how that is used in the scene to convey this. The guitar is his power. That's how I see it. So thank you for this, loved it. Before we go more into the ending, I know I'm bouncing around a little bit here, but there was a lot. I really loved the scene. I got really scared where he grabbed the bat, because it reminded me of any Walking Dead fans. It reminded me of Negan, you know, with the bat, with the barbed wire around. And that's all about authority, wasn't it? It was about, he was scaremongering. People were scared of that character in The Walking Dead. He was really malicious. And in fact, he really was a monster in some of those scenes. He was just, he was evil, honestly. So that's what it really reminded me of when he picked up the bat. I thought, oh, Jesus, I'm just like, it reminded me so much of Negan. He just, you know, he had the cape on. I think he just needed a leather jacket and he would have looked exactly like him. It just took me back there. Let's not talk about Glenn because it's still too soon. If any Walking Dead fans are out there, I know it's a little bit of a weird kind of crossover. But the jumping as well from side to side, I felt as though he was almost, the person within the guitar was like the prey and they were the predator, just jumping towards him. And the camera angles too, I kind of picked it up on my first watch. Second watch, I was like, wow, that is just it's so well done. The way that they just take one particular location, one scene, nothing really changes, and then make it so unique and keep your attention is so, like, it is wow. Oh, it's just such, that is talent, guys. It really is. So yeah, I felt as though it was almost stalking his prey, like I don't really know, but like some kind of leopard or something like that. Yeah, it just creeped me out, guys. So we have another Nats Chats regular here. I loved this comment. You guys are just so good at educating me on the world. So at Stuart_George, hello there, Stuart. The ending is very reminiscent of the act of, and I'm not going to say this, but a Buddhist monk who set fire to himself in the streets of Saigon, Vietnam in June of 1963. It was an act of protest against the persecution of Buddhists by the then Vietnam government. Oh my goodness. Guys, I've looked into this. It is actually terrifying. So the moment was captured by photographer Malcolm Brown and is quite a chilling image. It won him a World Press Photo of the Year and is certainly an image which I still remember from when I first saw it. If you decide to read this out in Nat's Chats, ta-da, your wish is my command. And Stuart, you know me so well because I'm terrible at pronouncing names on here, honestly, guys. So you can appreciate this. You can phonetically say his name as Tik Quan Duc. There you go. Perfect. Perfect. I love it, guys. Stuart know me so well, which I believe is close enough. So yes, thank you. That was perfect. I do feel like you are on the money here. No pun intended. I've looked into this. I'm not going to put the picture up because it is actually really disturbing. So trigger warning, guys. I'm going to put the link below just to a little bit of information. If you don't already know, I don't want to be patronizing, but if you don't already know about this Buddhist monk and this very famous picture of him setting himself on fire, which is just heartbreaking. But the most jarring thing about this picture that just disturbed me so much is, honestly, this sounds wild and crazy. It's not the fact that he's on fire. It's the fact that he's just, oh my God, guys, you've got to just go on. I'll put the link below. But he's just sat there, cross-legged, like Ren at the end, and he just looks so calm. Like, as there's flames all around, if you know what I'm saying. he just looks so calm. It is so bizarre to see. And it's really sad, but it's also really powerful as well, to think that somebody believes in something so much that they're going to self-sacrifice themselves for the good of other people, and to take a stance against, you know, the persecution of the Buddhists. I have so much respect for that, but I mean, oh, it just looked awful, guys. But yeah, you'll see what I mean by the photo. So yes, it reminded me of the way that Ren is very calm at the end, isn't he? And he just sits and that's what he does. And perhaps that's because he is a player in the money game, isn't he? And in order to make change and stand up for everybody who is being played by the money game, that is what he does. It's a self-sacrifice in a way. So I did find that really intriguing that he did that at the end. I wasn't quite sure how to take it, and then I read your comment. It really made sense to me. It's really him taking a stand against the system and the game itself. What do you guys think about this? I really do agree with this parallel. And I think it is honestly a genius the way that it's been done and incorporated into this. Very, very sad story. Yeah, it also reminded me on the first watch of that saying to just like, you know, you're just setting money on fire. You're just spending money. So as much as it is a commodity and people want money, they can also abuse that as well, and just like setting money on fire, just spending it for the sake of spending it, right? With all the greed. And, you know, all these people as well that have billions and millions and billions of dollars and live in the high life, and they're not really contributing to the communities, they're not giving back, that type of thing. Just, you know, it reminded me of that a lot. So thank you so much for this, Stuart, and for the help with the pronunciation. I hope I did it justice. So also, whilst we're on this subject of the ending, I found it odd how he took his gloves off. So I was thinking back to, you know, my very first impression was this person's been kidnapped or something like that. He's got the bag over his head because Ren doesn't want the person to see him because of his identity. He didn't want to give that away. He wants to remain anonymous. The gloves being thrown was almost like, oh, he's given up, because usually people would wear gloves in a particular situation like this. Not that I am a, you know, true crime investigator or anything like that, but you would assume that the gloves are there for fingerprints, the gloves are there so they can, you know, move around freely, etc. But he just kind of throws them off as if he's given up. And then he also takes the cape off and kind of scrumples it up and puts it to the side. And the way that he does that as well, it kind of, for me at that point, I felt as though he was starting to become more human. He was being humanized by those particular actions in the scene, and he was just becoming, instead of playing this really evil, menacing character, it was just a human being underneath really the mask or the costume that he was wearing, the character. So that's kind of my interpretation of that and why he did that and chose to include that in the scene. So speaking of the cape, I thought it was actually a trench coat, to be honest with you. And I did mention, this sounds a bit weird, but I did find him quite sexy in a trench coat, to be honest. So at Walker Rig 1, and I'm not going to really comment on this too much, because I don't want to get too political. I have to be really careful what I say. I just wanted to share this with you because I thought it was very interesting information that some of you renegades might want to take away from this, because as we know with Ren, he wears everything on. Everything is done in his music videos on purpose. He is a true artist. Everything is intentional. So this would have been intentional, the garments he was wearing for this particular music video. So I loved this. First of all, for Money Game Part 2, make sure it's the lyric video version, and I will do. Thank you so much for that, guys. I will make sure it's the lyric video, because I believe there is that one, and there's one on Brighton Beach as well that is not the full, though it's a fantastic performance apparently, and Ren was not feeling 100% on the evening he did that. It doesn't include all of the lyrics or all of the story, so I need the full one to get the context for part 3. So I appreciate you guys, you know, just jumping on and letting me know what to do and, you know, when to do it. And there was Crucify Your Culture, I believe I missed too, which was a lead up to Money Game Part 1. So at some point I will actually go back and I will have to revisit this, but I'll definitely do Money Ties as well as at 3.5/ kind of a secret Money Game Part 4. So we'll do the whole series together. I'm excited for this. So the cape he is wearing is a military gas cape. Oh, My goodness. Part of the protection you would wear as a soldier if you came under a gas attack. It was used to keep blistering agents such as mustard gas, phosgene, I know I've said that wrong, but it's Nat's chat, so what do you expect? And early nerve gas agents such as sarin from getting on your skin. It was also used as a tent and ground sheet until modern mission-oriented protective posture MOPP suits were developed. It was used as a rain poncho. In this case, the poncho is also referencing the image of a prisoner at Abu Ghraib in the US torture of prisoners scandal in the early 2000s in Iraq. So yes, guys, if you don't know about that, and again, don't really want to mention too much about that, it's quite a jarring image. Oh, it's quite another disturbing image. So definitely trigger warnings. I will put the link below so you can see what Walker is talking about here. But definitely seeing the image and then referring it back to this video, I was like, oh my goodness, yeah, I can totally see. I can really see the similarities here. It's pretty menacing. So I'll pop that in the link below so you can go and have a look at that. I also find it very interesting that it was worn as a rain poncho as well with, we're talking about rain. Found that really interesting, and that it's military. So to me, that just shows that Ren's character is really part of a bigger scheme, and unfortunately, he is under authority to carry out these orders. So I really just liked this insight. Thank you so much for sharing, Walker. Okay, so this is the last comment that we're going to go with for Money Game Part 1, guys. And I just thought it was a great summary, really, of the whole music video and the lyrics. So at David Rose 259, Nat, you're lovely. Thank you, David. You're very lovely too. Ren, in this one, flips between embodying the oppressive systems we have and also the narrator, which is true. Yes, I would agree with that. That's why he's so menacing yet just humming along like normal, paying no attention to the horror he's creating. The guitar player with the money bag over their head represents people as a whole who are also part of, but mostly trapped in the money game. Eyes, I think it's fair to say, open your damn eyes to what's going on because you're part of it too. The guitar and music, I think, represents the voice of the people. Yes, yes, I love this. And the beauty and the harmony we could have. Oh, I love this too, if we put our minds to it. So hope for the future is also represented by the guitar. You explain this beautifully, and I'd not really thought about this because, of course, with a lot of Ren's music, we explore lots of dark themes, but there is light there. So perhaps in this Money Game series, the guitar and the music represents that hope and light and the change, which I love. It is subtle to notice, but when the oppressor is about to pour gas on the people and burn them alive, they subtly block the can of gas with the neck of the guitar. Yeah, so I did notice this, like I mentioned, on the second, or I think it was the second watch. And then the oppressor sets himself on fire, I think symbolizing a reset or rejection of oppressive systems. Hope that helps. Much love to you. And P.S. don't worry, the next one is not menacing. So fingers crossed for part 2. Oh my goodness. I love how you have interpreted the ending as more of a symbolizing of resetting the game and also rejecting the oppressive systems. So thank you. So I thought this was just a great summary, honestly. My favorite line in this is the guitar represents the voice of the people and the beauty and harmony we could have if we all put our minds to it. I mean, just think about that. Wow. Yes. Unbelievable. Thank you so much for this comment, David Rose. It was wonderful to read. What did you guys think to all the thoughts and ideas, interpretations, perspectives that we've explored in this episode of Nat's Chats? Please do let me know in the comments section. I hope you've enjoyed this one. I'm very excited for you guys to join me on my journey as we really get more into the Money Game series together. So please remember, it is the last Tuesday of the month, which means that Nat's poll is out. So there's 3 amazing songs to choose from. I've tried to do a bit of variety there. Please do go on, take a vote. The voting will be open until Friday morning Vancouver time, and I will be doing that reaction next week. So I'm really excited to see what you guys are going to choose for me. Today is Renegade Tuesday, which means another first Ren reaction. So I've just released my reaction to Ren's anthem that is Power. So buckle up for this one. I had the best time doing this reaction, and I think today it might actually be one of my favorite songs. So do go on there, have a look at that reaction and comment away. And I will see you next week for another episode of Nat's Chats, where we'll be discussing all of your comments and my thoughts when it comes to the amazing fun song, original song by Ren, Power. In the meantime, take care wherever you are in the world, and ta-ra for now.